Hey everyone, this is Jeff from Rapido Trains with an order deadline update about our HO scale GE C36-7s. GE cataloged the C36-7 at the same time as our recently released C30-7, but it has a much different production history. In general, it was made at the tail end of Dash 7 production, mainly because American railroads did not place orders until later in the production run. The very first C36-7s ordered were Ferrocarril del Pacifico's 15 units ordered in 2 batches in 1979. These units have a really interesting history because they were used in both freight and passenger service and later made it to the larger combined Mexican rosters. We are also offering current day Ferromex 9336, which is a surviving in-service C36-7 in Mexico that has received a new paint scheme on Ferromex in reality and has updated modern details like ditch lights and window guards. We've just put out Norfolk and Western C30-7s, a unit they ordered 80 of in the late 70s. They came back 2 years later to make several orders of C36-7s. They looked the same at first, but we'll show you some of the differences. The C36 nose no longer has a box for the headlight on the front and has equipment hatches added to the door. There's a different battery box configuration, and there's no longer an all-weather window. The C36 has a large bathtub silence exhaust stack. There's also a difference in the hood behind the cab, where a section has been moved farther backwards and has a different pattern of weld seams and rivets. This early C30 has high-class lights and flush number boards, while the C36 has lower-class lights, raised number boards, and grab irons added near the class lights. 2 years after N&W's C36s were delivered, Norfolk Southern placed another order, but they were so different that they can hardly be described as the same locomotive model. In fact, they even had higher horsepower, rated at 3,750 horsepower. A signature feature is their raised dynamic brake box with bigger grills on the front, hinting at future Dash 8 production. They also have Rockwell trucks instead of triple-class Adirondack trucks. The NS units have a totally unique exhaust stack and also a very different arrangement of grills at the rear. N&W had ordered short hood forward units for years, but once NS took control, the first couple batches of new engines were ordered long hood forward. This could be identified by the plow on the rear as well as later ditch lights added to the rear. NS units feature a smooth nose as well as a toolbox. Conrail ordered 10 C30-7s in 1977 and then over 8 years later got 25 C36-7s a year after NS's C36-7s. Even though they were built after NS, they do not feature the raised dynamic brake section. On Conrail's C36-7s, there's no nose headlight box, and there are equipment hatches at the bottom of the nose. There's also Conrail's distinctive marker lights. The C36s have a different arrangement of hood doors and weld seams behind the cab. C36s have a larger silenced bathtub exhaust as well as several more radiator grills in the back. On the rear, there are marker lights, a different number board and grab iron arrangement, and extra spare knuckles. Next, let's look at the most iconic C36-7s, Missouri Pacific's order of 60 built in 1985 as the last domestic C36-7 production. These have a number of unique features, including the raised dynamic brake hatch and different grille arrangement on the front. There's also a different larger grille arrangement on the rear under the radiator wings. MPUP also spec'd a large, longer extended range fuel tank for their operations, and the air tanks were moved into the radiator area. As delivered, there were no rear number boards, and there was another rear class light and grab iron arrangement. On the front, they have a smooth nose with hatches on the bottom. On MPUP, the dynamic brake hatch is fully square, although on NS, it has a notch, possibly because of tunnel clearances. Lastly, we have BN's upgraded C33-7s and C36-7s. These were internal upgrades that BN did to C30-7s to get higher horsepower ratings out of them. A neat feature is they got red number boards to reflect that. Our sample is not the prettiest, but it does show one detail difference that happened to late C30s on BN. They added another vent to the rear hood doors, and as a later unit, these have ditch lights as well. Thanks to Dry Hill Model Railroad Club for filming on their layout, and make sure to get your orders in today. The order deadline is February 17th.
Lunatics!